Hey everyone, it's Amy, Old Book New Look, and I'm home. I am home from the hospital today. It's the day after surgery. Um, it is around 3:15 right now. I was discharged at noon, so everything went really, really, really well. I thought I was going to do some recording while I was at the hospital, but I was so focused on doing whatever I need to do to get going in my recovery that I just didn't have time really to break out the video camera. So I'll give you guys a quick rundown of the last few days. Um, I got up at 4:30 Monday morning, which was yesterday morning, and had to be at the hospital by 6. My dad and my husband came with me, and when I got there, I met with the admitting rep, and she had me sign my consents. And then they brought me out back to the prep area where I met with the nurse who, banded me, gave me my bracelet. So she gave me my bracelet, went through all my medications, when I last ate, when I last drank. They weighed me. I think she said I was 290.8 when I weighed in that morning, which is less than I had weighed in at home, so that was good. And she had me change into the Johnny, and then the anesthesiologist came in, kind of reviewed everything we had talked about at my pre-admission visit. They started a line on me, and then my surgeon came in and spoke to me and gave me a pep talk, and it was good. And then I just kind of waited with my husband and my dad were in there with me until they were ready to take me back. And I remember being wheeled into the operating room. I do not remember them telling me that they were giving me anything. I don't remember the anesthesiologist telling me, okay, now I'm giving you the medicine or anything. I don't remember that at all. I remember saying hi to the nurse who was in there, and I saw my surgeon there, and then the next thing I knew, I was awake in the PACU, which is the post-anesthesia recovery room. So that's where I recovered, and I guess I was in there for about 3 hours. As far as I know, I came out of the anesthesia fine, but I was in a lot of pain, and so they kept giving me morphine to try to get my pain level down, and that would make me sleepy, so I'd go back to sleep. So they kept me in the recovery room for a while just to monitor me. And I remember toward the end they said, we'd go get your family to come see you, but I think they're already upstairs waiting for you, because they knew that I had a bed ready. So instead they just brought me up to my room. I did have a roommate, and she ended up being discharged that night. So I had a few hours without a roommate, and then I had a new roommate come in. But that was fine. Honestly, I had some anxiety about having a roommate, because I knew that at the hospital where I had my surgery done that there was a good chance I would have one, because there aren't very many private rooms. But it was fine. Both the women that I shared a room with were very nice and polite and kept to themselves, and I kept to myself as much as I could, respected the other one's privacy, and they did the same, so it was fine. My dad and my husband stayed with me up until 5 o'clock, and then my husband drove my dad back home, and then he came back to stay with me a little while longer. And not gonna lie, the first, I'd say, 6 hours after surgery were very, very, very intense, and I was in a lot of pain. I expected to be hooked up to a morphine pump, but I wasn't, because I know so many of you have had that pump where you click to get your morphine every like 15 minutes or something, but I didn't have one of those. They instead administered the morphine to me as I needed it. It was like every couple hours they give me another dose. So it was a little tough. It was very tough, actually. I think if I could have cried, I would have, but I was just so tired and exhausted and worn out that I couldn't even cry. But so that it was really, really hard. But then one of the things that kind of turned things around was I had this awesome nurse who came on. His shift was from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. and his name was Paul. And I gotta tell you guys, he was the most awesome nurse I've ever met. He was amazing. He made me feel like I was the only patient in the hospital. He was there for me, whatever I needed. He explained everything really, really well. And he had a great sense of humor, and he just made my experience that much easier. So that was awesome. And turns out he was talking to my husband and I. He had gastric bypass himself 25 years ago. 25 years ago, guys. And by looking at him, you would never, ever have known that he ever had a weight problem in his life. So 25 years post-op, and he's still doing awesome. I was like, whoa, you're like my hero. So he literally knew everything I was going through, except back when he had it done, I can only imagine how much harder it was back then, because he had the open surgery and everything, and wow, I was amazed. But anyway, he was really good at walking me through everything that I needed to do, get me up walking, and explain the meds to me. He switched me over to oral pills instead of the morphine. So he had me on a schedule of oxycodone every 3 hours, and extra strength Tylenol every 6 hours. So the combination of those two things really helped. And by the end of his shift, around 10 o'clock at night, my pain started spiking again. So he actually did give me a dose of morphine on top of what I was already taking, just to get me over that edge. And I went to sleep and slept really well through the night. They kept waking me up every 2 hours to check my vitals, my blood pressure, my pulse, and my pulse ox, the amount of oxygen in my blood, and my temperature. But I had no problem falling back asleep, and I did really well for the rest of the night. I think I woke up for good at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And at that time I got up and started walking again, and I felt so much better. I gotta tell you guys, I was amazed at how much better I felt the next morning. Oh, and the night before also they brought me some dinner, and it was some chicken broth and some sugar-free jello. And the chicken broth it tasted so salty to me. I had like one sip of it and I couldn't do it. It was just too salty. And the jello was so sweet, but I was able to get down maybe like a teaspoon of the jello. And I kind of mushed it up in my mouth so it was liquid before I swallowed it. It was good to have something that tasted a little different than water. Oh, another thing that they had been giving me is heparin shots, which were to reduce the chance of blood clots. I actually had a total of 3 of those while I was in the hospital. So I'm going to show you guys my scars real quick. Let's see if you can see me all right. Maybe if I stand right here. So these are them right here. My stomach's kind of looks all weird because it's swollen in some spots. But my belly button's down here, so they're all above my belly button. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And they're like glued together. Most of my pain is right here, and it's more swollen over here too. But this incision here and just above it is where it hurts the most. So this morning, kind of just went through the same routine as far as getting up and walking, except the difference was this morning I was able to walk on my own without any support. I didn't have to like lean on my IV pole, or I didn't have to hold on to someone's hand. I was walking upright and going along on my own and walking a little bit further and further each time. The surgeon, or one of the attending doctors for the unit, came and talked to me, and he said I was doing so well, and they were going to let me go that day. Another thing that happened the night before, Paul told me, just so you know, you need to be able to pee before 8 o'clock tonight, or we're going to have to put a catheter in. So that was motivation for me, but I guess I could have gone, I just didn't realize I had to. So anyway, I went and tried, and I went fine, so they didn't have to catheter me, which I was really, really grateful for. I didn't have to go through that. And a lot of the pain also, so you guys know, most of my pain all day yesterday was in my back. And it was gas pain. A lot of people talk about having the gas pain in their shoulder, but I didn't have any in my shoulder. For me, it was all in my back, and it only really hurt when I was laying down on my back because of the pressure that I had against it. So it was really, really uncomfortable and difficult to get comfortable in bed. I had to kind of lie on my side, and that kind of was difficult to get into that position because any kind of twisting kind of hurt my stomach. But I got through it. They told me that they were going to discharge me. My husband and my dad came back to the hospital because my husband had left around 10 o'clock the night before. So they got there around 9, and by that time I had drinking quite a bit of water, had my breakfast, which was another maybe teaspoon of Jello, kept doing the pain meds. I was feeling a lot better, but I kept kind of dozing off, like I was just tired, which is to be expected, I guess, after such a big surgery. But they kept inspecting my incisions and making sure everything looked good, and it did. They let me take a shower, which I did well with. I was able to shower myself and get dressed myself, and after that they had me watch a video before I got discharged on kind of reviewing all my instructions for when I got home. And that's it. They discharged me at noon right after I had my next round of oxycodone and Tylenol. And so I came home, and I'm doing great. Let's see, how much fluid have I gotten in? At home, I just drank, I had a Andre chicken soup flavored protein powder in 12 ounces of water. And that went down really well. It took me a long time to get it all down. I think I made the shake right when I got home, and I just finished it at like 3:15. I have a 28-ounce water bottle they gave me at the hospital, and I've got maybe 3 ounces left of that. So I'm doing really well, really good on my liquid intake. And I had more fluid before I left the hospital, but I don't remember how much, maybe another 20 ounces or so. So I'm doing really well with being able to get my liquid in. I've been swallowing pills. They have me swallow pills. I haven't had to crush anything. The Tylenol they split for me, so they weren't as big, but I haven't had any trouble with that. And the only prescriptions they're having me take are the oxycodone and Nexium, which is to reduce the stomach acid, which I actually was already on before I even had surgery. So that's everything. I'm just going to lay down for a little bit and take a little nap. It's 3:30 now, and I asked my husband to make sure I didn't sleep past 5 o'clock because I want to be up to take another walk. I just took a walk up and down the sidewalk out front here. So they told me to be walking every 2 hours. Nothing too extensive, but just to get the blood moving. So anyway, I think that's everything. I'm so happy to be home. My surgeon's philosophy is that people heal better at home, so they monitor me and check my vitals every 2 hours, and they're confident that there are no complications. So they sent me home, and I'm happy to be here. So anyway, thank you guys so much for your thoughts and your well wishes and everything. I couldn't thank you guys enough for the support that you've given me, and you'll hear from me again soon. Take care. Bye.